Shalom and greetings. Welcome to this broadcast. Thank you so much for joining. While you enter the broadcast or while you join, kindly let me know whether you can see clearly and hear clearly. I appreciate these moments with you. I'm always overjoyed whenever the opportunity presents itself for me to share with you, especially my Guyanese brothers and sisters, and with those of you who are here and in the diaspora who live overseas, as this should be said. Let me know as well whether you can see clearly and hear clearly, as we normally encounter certain technical difficulties every so often. So please, I'd appreciate it. But this evening we have to speak to a matter that for me points to my end, or approaching an end, to dealing with this electoral issue in Guyana. If you're a U.S. citizen and you're a saint, I would advise you to stay tuned to this broadcast. If you're a British citizen and you are a saint, I would advise you to stay tuned to this broadcast. Likewise, for those of you who live in Canada, because you need to hear and you need to witness the extent to which your countries are willing to go. Thank you so much for the feedback. You need to witness the extent to which these countries are prepared to go to exercise control and to exhibit terrorism against nations that they perceive to be weaker, smaller, and less capable of returning any degree of threat to them. So I bid you shalom. And shalom is a Hebrew term that speaks of there being a peace within you that goes beyond what people can comprehend. It speaks to your having an assurance that it doesn't matter what happens, it is well with you. And that only comes from faith and confidence in Yahweh. We're speaking this evening to this matter that you see before you. And I appreciate the feedback. Sarah Ann Lynch's, what a name, criminal conduct, and APNU AFC'S silence. Let me say to you that good evening. There is international law that I will present to you yet again that prohibits, and I'm not using terms loosely or casually here, there is international law that prohibits certain behaviors of diplomats. Law, not suggestions, not ideas. They are international laws that prohibit certain conducts by diplomats in any UN territory. The United States of America is one of the leaders of UN, but they don't care. So I show you again. This is what we're addressing. Sarah Ann Lynch's criminal conduct. She is violating international law, and she's getting away with it. On your screen, please let me know if you can read that, because somebody said the video is pixelated. While you're at it, please share this broadcast with somebody from APNU AFC. They need to see it. They certainly need to see this. Or with somebody has David Arthur Granger's page, he needs to see it too. Because you'll see exactly why I tell you, do not vote for any political party in Guyana. None of you. So I read Article 41. Some of you are familiar with this because I showed it to you before. This is the Vienna Convention of 1961. This is an article of international law. People, I am certainly not in the frame of mind to tolerate idiocy. So if you know that you just want to be a crony here, I would not be likely to entertain you. I may just block you out altogether. This is international law before your eye with Article 41 of the Vienna Treaty of Convention. Vienna Treaty. And this convention was agreed upon by nations including the United States of America. Just get that clearly. The United States of America agreed to this, that without prejudice to their, being the diplomats, privileges and immunities when they sent to another country, it is the duty of persons enjoying such privileges and immunities to respect the laws and regulations of the receiving state. In this case, this is Guyana. So if an American ambassador comes to Guyana, if a British High Commissioner, as we call the ambassador, comes to Guyana, if a Canadian High Commissioner is in Guyana, that's what we call an ambassador, they have to respect the laws and, carefully note here, the regulations as well of the receiving state, which is Guyana. They also have a duty, that is international, I'm quoting for you. Please share the broadcast while you're at it. I'd be happy if you can do so. These diplomats have a duty to not to interfere in the internal affairs of that state, which is Guyana in this case. That is international law. That is Article 41 of the Vienna Treaty of Convention. Vienna Convention. That is before you. I have not concocted this. I didn't sit at my computer and say I'm going to write this up. This has been established for decades. This is law. It means that if any diplomat operates in a manner that is contrary to this, they are committing an international crime. Let's just get that clear, please. I hope that you saw the screen clearly. This is law. The bully, the international tyrants, the slave masters' offspring have decided that they're not going to abide by what is lawful, but they're going to compel us to abide by what is lawful. They're going to say that Guyana should uphold all of these different laws they talk about. But they, at the same time, are prepared to not just break them, but to break them without any degree of shame and hesitation or reservation. They are doing this in an overt manner, openly. They don't care. They are showing everybody that we don't care about your country. And what continues to bother me, and what continues to be of great disappointment to me, is the fact that they're Guyanese, who are absolutely okay with these people doing this to your country. Then you wonder why these people demonstrate such disrespect for us as a people. Because our own people encourage it. For some reason you have been cultured into thinking, and hopefully these broadcasts will help some of you to be delivered from it. You've been cultured into thinking that the United States of America, Canada, Britain, and Europe are these heavenly places. That if you do not go there, you've not reached the ultimate goal of life. Some persons could not comprehend how in the world could I leave the Bahamas, for example, head to the US, and then come back to Guyana. They couldn't figure it out. Because to them, it's impossible for you to leave these countries that are so amazing and come to live in Guyana. They're pastors and preachers who tell you that you have to fast and pray and give them money. Yes, they do. So they can pray for you to get a United States of America visa. So if your mind is, and people stand in church to testify that they believe God and God give them a visa. So if your mentality is that heaven has to intervene for you to go to the United States of America, That is why these people believe in their heart that you actually don't have any degree of common sense regarding your rights as a person and any degree of understanding of the international systems of the world. Because for you and some of you, the US is heaven. There are preachers who are trembling at the thought of doing what I do. Somebody saying I'm not clear on their end. I hope that I am. I really hope I am clear tonight. Yolanda, you may need to leave the broadcast and return. If I have any technical difficulties, let me know, please. So, of course, GT&T is performing in the usual manner. It's settled now. Okay, great. Now, I have just cited the Vienna Convention for you, Article 41. That is the law. Period. That is the law. International law. I would like to show you an article from Kaiser News, September 20th, 2019. I want to show you where the United States of America, the UK, the European Union, all of them, their diplomats violated Article 41 of the convention right before our eyes. And David Granger did nothing. That's almost a year ago. Nothing. Look at this. Shalom, shalom, sis. Good to see all of you. Look, please let me know if you can see these images clearly on the screen. All guilty. Look at what's on the screen. Set elections date. I'm reading the heading. Immediately. Now this is Massa talking to David Granger here. This is after the no confidence motion. The CCJ had ruled. And the CCJ ruled rightfully. 33 is always greater than 32. In reference to our 65-member parliament. So the garbage about 34 and half nonsense that APNU is saying is utter foolishness. And I'm happy that the CCJ ruled. But look at what the diplomats are doing here. Set elections date is the heading. Immediately. US, UK, EU, tell President Granger. I would like for you to see this. They can't censor me. Somebody said what? They might want to censor you for exposing it. Censor me? How would they do that? There's nothing US can do to me that's unusual and uncommon. Somebody said they can't see. I wish you can see this. Okay, let me zoom in a little more. This should be better. Tell me if it's better, please. Set elections date immediately. US, UK, EU, tell President Granger. And that is from the Kaiser News, September 20th. 2019. Let's see if we can get it in for you. I really want you to see this. Do you see that? Somebody said they can't see a thing. It must be the internet service tonight. So I'll read most of it for you. But this is September 20th, Kaiser News, the article is in Kaiser News. And this is where okay, zoom back out a little. This is where, but I'm reading it for you anyway. This is where the US, the UK, and the European Union were telling David Granger that he has to set an election date immediately. We'll get back to that. That's all right. Never in my life. Now I'll try to switch to Digicel network and see if it's better. Just let me know. It may be a catastrophe, but let's see how it's going to go. Because my internet service in London is atrocious. Okay, just let me know if it's better, please. In reference to the quality of the video. Can you imagine that the U.S. ambassador to Guyana, Sarah Ann Lynch, the UK's ambassador, who's Gregory Quinn, the EU's ambassador, Pons Comey, whatever his name is, these people, Article 41 I read for you is the law. No diplomat is supposed to in any way at any time interfere in the internal matters of this country. No diplomat. Now I want one of you who's fair-minded to tell me whether this behavior in September of 2019 was that interference. I'm asking a straightforward question. PPP, APNU, AFC, wherever you from. Is this, I'm asking Timothy Jonas and all of you who suddenly have a voice to talk, Jerry Gavaya, Joe Singh, every last one of y'all, Kit Nascimento, every one of you, is this interference? All you letter writers and all you, tonight is your night. Is that interference? Where the EU, the US, the UK, it is written, told the president, not suggested. I pray that y'all can see this on your screen. I hope you can see this. Please, tell me if you can. I'm trying again. Look, is that interference? Set elections date immediately. Are they interfering in Guyana's affairs? Because elections happen to be an internal affair, an internal procedure, an internal process in Guyana. We don't go to the US to vote. We do not go to Britain to vote. We do not go to the EU to vote. We vote in Guyana. We have a Guyana Elections Commission that facilitates the electoral process in Guyana. Now look. Look for yourselves. They are telling a president, these are ambassadors. Were you able to see that? Regina, give me some feedback if you can, please. These are ambassadors. Okay, somebody said they can't see, so you're going to hear them. These are ambassadors. In other words, they are diplomats. See, somebody says you're racist. These are the kind of foods that are here. These are ambassadors. They are diplomats by definition. And according to the Article 41 of the Vienna Convention, they are prohibited from doing this. They didn't say, we are asking the president to kindly consider, and even that is a violation of law. They didn't do that. These people went fully down the path of saying, we are going to disregard Article 41 of the Vienna Convention and tell you in your own country, as the president, David Granger is the president. He's not just a president, he's an executive president of Guyana. They are ambassadors. They show up in the country and they give the president of Guyana their credentials. He receives it as a sign because he's the executive leader. So he receives their credentials to say, we accept you in Guyana. If the ambassador of the UK, of the US, or of the EU have more authority than Granger, then they don't have to come and give him anything. Somebody asked if I'd be an advisor. I don't have an issue advising any president. I do so all the time for free. I guess they'll have to pay me if they want it in private, because I've been doing this for the longest while. And I appreciate your question, Graves Andy. This is advice I've been giving these people for the longest while. Because maybe those around them are afraid to tell them exactly how they should function with these criminals who are here under the guise of being diplomats. And you're going to see, as you're seeing right now, PPP civic supporters who are supporting criminal behavior. That's the nature of these people. And anyone you could come for me. Try it. I'm not your regular person here. The law is that no diplomat, anybody from Guyana, Barrett Jagdeo, Irfan Ali, David Granger, Ramjatan, any one of you, all of you, Jonas, Phyllis Jordan, any Guyanese politician has a right to say that elections should be held immediately. They should have done so, said so. And they have the right to say all the things they want to say in this country. But there's no way that any diplomat has the authority to put their finger or their foot or their mouth in Guyana's business and interfere to the extent where they're telling the president that he has to name an election date immediately. And what did Granger do? Well, that's September of 2019. We are in May of 2020, and David Granger is yet to do anything to these people. Not even one of them. Nothing. And I'll show you why before the broadcast is over. Just stay put. Just remain. So I'm going to read, because most of you cannot see, but I'll just switch it to show you that I'm reading something here. So I'm reading here, all are guilty. That statement, or the statement, came from, and hopefully you'll be able to see it at some point, the United States of America ambassador to Guyana, Ambassador Sarah Ann Lynch. So the names are published. They didn't oppose this. United Kingdom High Commissioner to Guyana, Greg Quinn, and the European Union Ambassador to Guyana, Fernando Pons Canto. The statement would be the toughest from the Western diplomats saying call election now, right here. Since December 21st no confidence vote in the National Assembly, which set Guyana down a path for early elections. So Kaicho News published what was never refuted by the European Union, the UK, the British High Commission, or the United States Embassy, because they did say it. And David Granger said, I'm not breaking the law. I'll tell you what he said in reference to this last statement here I'm about to read. I'm not breaking the law. Can you imagine the president of a country? These people come to you with a credential. Credential mean, okay, the leader of the US, the leader of UK, the leader of the EU, they're sending this person to Guyana. The president, I say again, has to receive the person. That's authority, because the president of the country is the ruler. So the president of Guyana, the president has to receive that ambassador. Which means it's an announcement that the president of Guyana is superior to the US ambassador. But while in Guyana, the US ambassador looks up, because she's under his authority, and tells him, you have to set an election date. Now, not just set it, but they said set the date immediately. And Granger couldn't touch them. And I'll tell you why before the broadcast is over. That was September. There is no way, even if I used to vote, there is no way in the world that I would vote for David Granger. Never. Now you APNU AFC'ites get mad at me for all you want. The fact that an ambassador who's in his country, not overseas, she's on his turf. Gregory Quinn is on his turf. And they could tell him to name an election date now. And he can't do anything to them. I would never vote for David Granger. That is the epitome of weakness. See, look what Owen Meadows, here you have it. Owen Meadows is saying, be careful what you're saying on social media. Okay? Take quarantine before they take your visa away. Take what? Do I care about any visa? I said it before. The US is okay. I have no problem with Britain, Canada, the UK, the US, or any nation saying Nigel London is blacklisted. He must never come into our country. You know why? Because the reason for them saying is this. Not because I'm some wimp. And that's our problem. Our political leaders are afraid to lose their visa. That's their problem. All the American has to do is to threaten them. We'll take your visa, and they suddenly hands up, okay, do what you want. I don't care. Last I checked, we do not have any repeated mass killings in the malls in Guyana. So why am I so desperate to be in the US? We didn't have 80,000 plus COVID-19 deaths in Guyana. So what's the big deal? And there is no man on this planet that I will ever endorse because he is afraid to speak. Never. So let me read for you a further section of the article. It says the statement also stressed, you can't see so. I'm reading from Kaicho News. Kaicho News, September 20, 2019. The statement stressed that the laws, these are diplomats speaking here now. The statement stressed that the laws of Guyana is being broken. It should be the laws of Guyana are, but that's Kaicho News reporter, by the way. The laws of Guyana are being broken as the decisions of the court are not being followed. Listen to this. Listen to what these three diplomats said. However, we deeply regret that by surpassing September 18, you wouldn't see it for whatever reason, but I put it on the screen anyway. By surpassing September 18, listen to what the diplomats are saying. The government is currently in breach of the Constitution. These are diplomats talking. Following its failure to adhere to decisions of the Caribbean Court of Justice on 18th of June last, and its subsequent orders. These are diplomats announcing that the government of Guyana is in breach of the Constitution. My question is, are they members of the judiciary? These are diplomats, people. These are persons who are functioning as diplomats. They are in Guyana. They are in a receiving state. My question to you is that statement, or does that statement speak to interference? Where they're saying that this is not the Chief Justice speaking here. That is not the appellate court justice speaking. These are diplomats saying that the Guyana government is in breach of the Constitution. Is that interference in the internal affairs of a country? I'm asking these questions because I want the PPP idiots who run the broadcast to look as stupid as they can. They're doing well so far, so just continue. Is that interference in our internal affairs, where diplomats are telling a government, you are breaking the law, you are in violation of the Constitution? Is that interference? So one of the PPP supporters saying they give Guyana money. So do you understand what they're saying here? Because you give Guyana money, you have the right to break international law. And those are the people who are saying that they understand electoral process in Guyana. And these are the ones who wanted the process to be live streamed. Get that? Because the US gave Guyana money, the US has the right to break international law. I hope you heard what I just said. But my question to you is that statement interference? So we have at least 3 situations so far. 3. They be blocked, positive thinker. Riaz has been blocked. One by one, they'll come up with the screen. Once I address them and they have a chance to correct it, they're gone. David Granger did nothing. Lillian Chatterjee. I just hope one day you'll be able to see this. Maybe when I'm in Georgetown, you'll see it better. Georgetown. Her Twitter page, she tweeted, Guyana refused at Carter Center with ties to Guyana since the 1990s to return, although they will comply with the same COVID-19 requirements as CARICOM organization team. GCOM invited Carter, Guyana to return. Look at this. Why doesn't the government want them back? This is the Canadian High Commissioner. She should be expelled immediately. And this is in the 15th of May. Look at what this woman is saying or suggesting. Why doesn't the government want Carter Center back? So you know she's saying here, the government has some sinister plan, some wicked strategy as to why they're preventing Carter Center from coming. Now, Guyanese, President Granger, while you're still president, where in the world can your ambassador try this? She's in Guyana, suggesting that the government of Guyana, who received her, is seeking an opportunity to be involved in this sinister plan to keep the Carter Center out of Guyana. And a diplomat is saying, suggesting in a question, why doesn't the government want them? Because GCOM said they should come, but the government doesn't want them to come. And Chatterjee is still in Guyana. Chatterjee is still here. This woman who 3 commissioners of GCOM reported that she stormed their private meeting and sought to intervene in a private meeting, and she's still in Guyana. And you people still have the mind to say that David Granger should be a president and lead you when he's facilitating this? Because his inaction is equivalent to facilitation. If he is not going to deal with it, he's facilitating the process. Look at what she's saying. And you people who are in all of these lofty positions in Guyana, earning my and other Guyanese taxpayers' money. You have got your Land Rovers and Land Cruisers that you're driving in around the place. People, you're chauffeur driven, and you're given all these privileges as ministers in government, and you cannot be man and woman enough to tell the president, we cannot facilitate this or I resign? No, because you like the privileges of tax-free dollars and enjoying yourself. The APNU, AFC members of parliament and people in government, you have absolutely no care for Guyanese people. I don't say this with reservation. You've proven it to me. You do not care about the integrity of this country. PPP Civic, you are worse. Because you are the ones who are asking these people to sanction your country. You're worse than APNU AFC. Carter Center. Oh, you'll hear about Carter Center in a second. The Carter. What makes the Carter? Which part of Guyana's law speaks to the Carter Center having to be here for elections to be free and fair and credible? Show me one. You PPPites who want to speak like retards, I am asking you to show me one article. Like I did, I show you articles of law. You show me one article of law from the Representation of the People Act of Guyana that says that the Carter Center must be in Guyana for elections to be free, fair, and credible. Show me one. And I'll endorse Irfan Ali and all you tomorrow, right away. You can't. So all you do is jump around like fools all the time, thinking that drags me out of my focus. But it doesn't happen to me. The Carter Center, since you want to get there, were here on election day, observing elections. And they couldn't observe that the official list of electors were not placed in certain boxes. They couldn't see that, but they were observing them. And that's a criminal act if you don't know. It is unlawful for any presiding officer, any returning officer, to not place the official list of electors in the ballot box. It is dictated by law. This is not, again, I'm telling you, Guyanese don't understand the difference between law and suggestions. I'm convinced. Polling books are supposed to be in the ballot box by law. Carter Center observed all of that, but couldn't report on it. What did they come back to Guyana to do? If they know the law of Guyana, why didn't they report that these things were not being done? Now, permit me to play, and this is the part I want to get to. There's a video that'll be on your screen with Sarah Ann Lynch. This is video evidence here for David Granger because maybe he needs some help. Maybe the president needs to have some additional information to work with because he's not convinced that the U.S. ambassador telling him that he has to name election date now to cite a date as being interference. Mufasa is up there. So maybe I need to help you.
Actually, technical advisors that were invited in by GCOM, and they have been working here since November, again, providing advice. And there are some other people, I know there is somebody here from the Commonwealth that is a technical advisor. So it is likely that all of these observers and advisors, whether they're international or domestic, will see similar things. That is correct. I think the difference between the international observers and the other groups is that they are well trained.
Do you hear her? Can you hear her clearly? Can you hear her clearly? Can you imagine she's saying that the international observers are well trained? Hear that? The international observers are well trained. They're well versed in Guyana's law. Sarah Ann Lynch is with Gordon Mosley, and I commend Gordon Mosley tonight publicly because he did not just squirm and hide when she began to speak. He ensured that she answered certain questions as they should have been answered. So Sarah Ann Lynch is on record she is on record saying here that the international observers are supposed to be here. So let me continue playing it for you.
Yes, I do think they will lend additional credibility to the process because the Carter Center, as you may know, has been in Guyana off and on for 3 decades, and they've observed all of the last elections in recent history. And so they do definitely lend additional credibility to the process. And as this process has gone on for so very long, it's now more than 10 weeks since Election Day, I think any additional credibility will be good for the citizens of Guyana.
But you would agree that even in the absence, and I'm going to go back to that question, even in the absence of their presence, we can still have a credible process, a credible result, based on those who are here now, this scrutinizing by CARICOM, and all of those other observers present, that we can still have a credible election result.
I would hope that there will be a credible result and the process will be transparent no matter who is here. But what I would like to see is the citizens, I do think they will lend additional credibility to.
Do you hear that? Did you hear this woman just saying what I would like to see? This is a U.S. ambassador speaking to a journalist in Guyana in the person of Gordon Mosley. And I said I commend him highly for insisting that it doesn't mean that because she's the U.S. ambassador, he has to be all weak. Maybe David Granger could take a page out of Gordon Mosley's book. So Guyana decided that CARICOM could be here, officials from the Caribbean community, to observe the process. This woman is saying that the Carter Center would add credibility to our election. She's in essence saying and suggesting that if Carter Center is not here, then our elections would not be truly as credible as they should be. What manner of foolishness is David Granger tolerating in Guyana? What is wrong with this? Listen to me. I would like to suggest to you, David Granger, if you know that you're going to lose these elections, you're still president now. The last dance for you should be to put her out. If it's the last thing you do before you leave office, should be to get this woman out of Guyana. Let that go down on record. Where the last thing you did as president before you omitted office was to get her out. You have an ambassador telling you in your country what I would like to see? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you people from APNU FC? Honestly speaking. Imagine you have an ambassador telling you regarding your electoral process what she would like to see. Not what the law states. Not what is required by law. No, what she wants to see in our elections. My question to you again, permit me, just bear with me. Bear with me as I'm trying to just get rid of this overwhelming disappointment in these people called Guyanese leaders. Bear with me as I ask you again, is that interference in an internal process? This is the 5th time I'm asking the question, just about. Is that interference now on video, recorded? And that was in a few weeks ago with Gordon Mosley. Is that interference? Because she didn't say what the law states, and even that she shouldn't do. She's saying what she would like to see in her elections. Is that interference? David Granger, I say to you, sir, if you follow this process and you follow me as people say that you normally get whoever reports you about what I say, if it's the last thing you do before you hand over power to anybody else, if you lose election, get this woman out. You cannot be a president and have this happen in your country. And people are still prepared to fight for you and hope, but you went to do what? I am beginning to wonder whether Guyana is a colony of the United States of America. We have to be a U.S. colony. This could never be an independent nation. And you told me, when is Tuesday, yesterday? You told me that yesterday was independence. And some of you Guyanese tell me independent. What makes Guyana independent? How can we be independent when this foolishness happens in our turf and in our country? What makes us independent if an ambassador can tell your president things of this nature? So Chatterjee, the Canadian ambassador, Lynch Chatterjee, she, in her tweet, said that the government has underlying reason as to why they don't want to have Carter Center back here. Gregory Quinn said, it's sad to see Carter Center not coming back here. This one here, Sarah Ann Lynch, took it a notch. Took it up another notch to say, well, without Carter Center, the elections would not be as credible as they should be. So when did an American institution or organization become necessary to our election become incredible? When? When? And I'll just respond to this person because I think the comment requires a response. Randy Ra, whether the U.S. give Guyana $50 million to help with COVID-19 fight, let me help you please, is because ExxonMobil is here. And I hope you recognize how many U.S. citizens were in Guyana boarding planes to leave because of COVID-19. Just take note of how many U.S. citizens are in Guyana or were here during the pandemic. They have to ensure that this nation functions well enough because Exxon is here. The U.S. doesn't love Guyana. Sarah Ann Lynch does not love Guyana. They love what Guyana has to give them since from the days of slavery. With the Brits, they knew that the slaves, if we don't feed them, they will die. So because master gave you food to eat, it means master is good to you? Don't tell me because somebody gives me something, they like me or they're good to me. No. They have to ensure that this country right now is stable enough for the oil industry to function. And the fact that Guyanese can have great interest and great care and great concern for a foreign entity in the Carter Center. Not if Carter Center does not, let me help you. You PPP, I say me deal with you all again. The Carter Center does not observe and report on the US election. So with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, the Carter Center did not observe and report on that. So if Carter Center is so credible, why they can't observe their own election? Why can't they rule on their election credibility? Talk that. Speak to that, please, since you have something to say on behalf of Jaggi and the rest of them. Tell me, If the Carter Center is so credible and so amazing and impeccable in their nature, why did they not observe 2016 election with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? Why? They can't observe elections in their own country, but they could come to Guyana to observe election and they're credible? Get out of here. Let them observe their election. In November, they have another election coming. Since Carter Center is so credible and amazing, let them observe Trump versus whoever it is. Let them observe that and tell me whether it's credible. Who's Carter Center? Who is Jason Carter? As I said, they observe and they could still not observe that official lists of electors were not being placed in ballot boxes. They couldn't observe that polling books were not placed in ballot boxes. They could not observe. They couldn't see these things. That certain seals were not present. They couldn't observe. That some people who did not have an ID card, who did not have a passport, who should have been sworn to their identity, did not swear but voted. They couldn't observe that. They couldn't see that, but they could observe and make Guyana's election credible. Let Carter Center observe U.S. election first. They could not observe Trump and Hillary Clinton's election. Why must they observe ours? Get out of here. Even CARICOM does not have to observe anything regarding Guyana's election. Read your law and it may help you. Or ask Says Narayan, Says Gunraj, ask Vincent Alexander, ask Trotman, ask Corbyn. Maybe they'll help you out. And ask Claudette Singh. Well, she doesn't say much anyway. But you ask them. GCOM is the only entity in Guyana that determines an election is free, fair, and credible. Not Carter Center. Not CARICOM. GCOM. Who is Jason Carter? Get out of here. So here we have the next clip as to why, and this is where you AFC people, you need to hear me very clearly. And I'll tell you why your president can't say a word to Sarah Ann Lynch. Nothing. Listen carefully, please.
An interview recently by U.S. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, and he raised some concerns about the involvement of your country, the U.S., in these elections. He called it interference. What do you call it?
I call it good diplomacy.
Ha! From the beginning of the clip, Gordon, again, kudos to you. Gordon cited Jeffries and Rickford Burke's interview. And he's brought this to the U.S. ambassador's attention now, Sarah Ann Lynch's attention. He said, listen, there's this interview in which the congressman said that he is concerned with U.S. interference, here the terminology from Vienna Convention, in Guyana's electoral process. So Gordon said, now what do you call that? Because Jeffries called it interference. Sarah Ann Lynch said she calls it good diplomacy. So illegal activity is called good diplomacy in Guyana? Can you imagine what we're dealing with here in this country? Whether someone is going to insult us as a nation to this extent? So it's good diplomacy for them to interfere in our electoral processes. That's what she's saying. That is what this woman is saying, that it is good diplomacy, David Granger, for her to interfere in our processes of election. It's not criminal. It's not a contravention of the article of law, which is Article 41 of the Vienna Convention, the treaties of law. It is not that. It is good diplomacy for them to say, call elections now. Listen to what she calls good diplomacy. And she's still in Guyana. It's good diplomacy for her to say that although GCOM decided who will observe the election, she wants Carter Center to come here. Because they know the law. They're trained in the law. Yet they couldn't tell you that the only course of action after March 2nd should have been an election petition, not any recount. There should be no national recounting again. It's an illegal process. Because you have no ruling, no declaration by the chairman of GCOM as to why there's a recount. She can't say that until today because she has no lawful reason to do it. So she calls it good diplomacy. Let me continue to hear what the rest that she has to say. And this is where she exposes, this is where Sarah Ann Lynn exposes David Granger to the maximum. And I'm glad she did it.
As you know, Gordon, because I know you always do your homework and your research, and all these statements that the U.S. government is making now in 2020 were nearly identical to those that we made in 2015. The difference being there was a different party in power and a different party in the opposition. So the statements that we're making today, they very much mirror, again, those in 2015. So if it is interference today, it was interference in 2015. And I don't hear people calling it interference in 2015.
There you have it. There you have it. I applaud you now, Sarah Ann Lynch. Good for you, David Granger. I know this was harm to y'all. Exactly. Do you hear what she said? That in 2015 there was a different government. Remember, there was Donna Ramatar. He was the president. He prorogued Parliament. In other words, he dissolved Parliament, say we're not meeting anymore. And David Granger and others were saying, by right, we need to go to election because you have a particular time before you go to election. Great. So what did she say now? She said in 2015, when David Granger was the leader of the opposition, he did not talk about interference. Good. Because it's hypocritical. So she has exposed the hypocrisy of APNU AFC. That is why David Granger can do nothing to Sarah Ann Lynch. Because he knows, and I can recall vividly, clearly, that with 2015 scenario, David Granger was in the opposition saying, even the international community is saying we should go to the poll. Even the British High Commissioner is saying they should go to the poll. And David Granger was saying, look at this. The international community, talking about the diplomats now, are in agreement with us that we have to go to the poll, that Donna Ramatar is in breach of the Constitution. Donna Ramatar is not exercising democracy. Good. You're a hypocrite because now, when it's your turn for the U.S. to interfere, you suddenly become a victim. That's why I will never vote for the PPP Civic, AFC, or any one of y'all in Guyana. I mean, you are too weak. And you think that you can use these diplomats and these international agencies to your benefit. It doesn't work that way. So David Granger can never do anything to Sarah Ann Lynch because she said it. He is a hypocrite. That's what she said in essence. In essence, she's saying to the president, you're a hypocrite. Because in 2015, you didn't have a problem when I was talking. What's the problem? Of course, she wasn't the ambassador then. But the same applies. She's saying, you can't tell me anything. Because when you were the opposition leader, David Granger, you weren't crying then. What can he tell her? That she's lying? She's not. And that is what some of you don't seem to understand. That Guyana's politicians, like many others, are some of the most disingenuous, wicked people that you vote for. You choose wickedness. That's with you Christians all the time. For you to love the Lord and love the truth and all that, you are the epitome of hypocrites. Because you cannot tell me, never can you tell me, that the Lord will direct you to choose somebody who lies so much. David Granger did not have the power to convince the people of Guyana to let Donna Ramatar Donald Ramotar called elections. No, he allowed these same people here to interfere. What David Granger should have done in 2015 is say to Gregory Quinn, sir, I'm aware that you have, for whatever reason, a vested interest in democracy being exhibited in Guyana. However, my interest is in it being done the right way, not by your interference. That's what Granger should have done. Granger should have told them that we don't need you to interfere in our legal system. But he couldn't do that because he wants power. So he allowed them to break the law to get him into power. But now when they don't want him there anymore, suddenly he recognizes interference, but you can't do anything to them because you couldn't do it then. You never spoke to what was legal. You spoke to what was beneficial. And that is hypocrisy. What he did, though, is David Granger never asked the community to sanction Guyana. He said what is likely to happen if it's sanctioned. Jack D, on the other hand, and others are asking these people to sanction Guyana, which is treasonous. So Sarah Ann Lynn, being an American ambassador to Guyana, Lynch, is telling you straight across the board, we are breaking the law on 2 occasions, 2015 and we're breaking it in 2020, and still you can't do anything to us. That's what she's telling you here. They broke the law in 2015, they break the law in 2020, and you cannot do anything to them in either case. Good. And you call us independent? What makes us independent? Why do you think I have an interest in looking up to these people as, oh, you're a leader. You're a great leader of this country. Great what? What makes him a great leader if he's a hypocrite? I did tell you at the beginning of this broadcast to stay tuned, because you will hear by the end why David Granger cannot do anything to Sarah Ann Lynch. And you just heard it, because she said it. I didn't say it. She said it clearly for you, that you people in 2015, when you were in opposition, you did not have anything to say when we did the same thing to Donald Ramotar. So why are you saying it now? Michael Gordon, if you are going to observe what happens in Guyana now and suggest that the diplomatic community want David Granger, I don't think that we're observing the same process. And it's quite unfortunate. Because if they wanted him here, let me tell you what they would have done. They would have told the PP Civic, go to court and file an election petition. Because they know exactly what should have been done. Guyana had, we, the taxpayers, were paying a group of people. None of you knew that. Because your leaders wouldn't tell you that. They were consultants in this country going to GCOM, and they were being paid hefty sums of money. Sarah Ann Lynch said it. She said it. That they were here to help with the electoral processes before anything happened. So they understood exactly what should have been happening. And they know the law. I think they call the IRR or something like that. But they were here. They knew exactly what was going on and how the process should go. And they also know very clearly that Article 84 of the Representation of the People Act is too clear for you to miss. You have the right to witness the returning officer tabulation, or what you call ascertaining the votes cast. The next thing you have the right to do, if you have an issue with it, is to request a recount before midday of the following day. That's your right. Any political party can do that. The third thing you have to do is, if you're not satisfied, file an election petition. There's nothing called a recount. Nothing called a national recount. Nothing. The only time you get to a national recount is if GCOM would have done what Justice Singh should have been doing in the first place, which is she looks at the Chief Election Officer's report, she rules on that report, she looks at the statements, the poll, and so on, and says, okay, there is enough evidence for us as commissioners to rule that these elections were certainly fraudulent. Now we shall investigate. That's the first step. Secondly, if the parties are at loggerheads based on what is going on, then GCOM can have a gazetted order to say that they will have a recount to ascertain what happened. None of the preceding things happened before they went to recount. None. The Carter Center know very well the law of Guyana, because Sarah and Lynch said they knew it. But they only know the law under certain circumstances. They don't want David Green to be president. They began before GCOM ever issued one statement about the official declaration of elections. Sarah and Lynch, Mike Pompeo were saying the Guyana will be sanctioned. So let's get it straight. Before Region 4 would have been officially declared the results, Pompeo said that they will not accept what is not credible, free and fair. How can you determine that? I'm asking you to share this broadcast, please, because I'm winding down to the end of my speaking to these matters. But I want you to see the evidence of AFC's hypocrisy. David Granger cannot do anything to Sarah Ann Lynch because he has accepted her behavior, the behavior not of her, but the previous ambassador. He accepted it. And he used it to his benefit. Let me make this clear to you. Guyana can never at any point in time be respected by any international agency, any diplomat, if they're going to observe what is being observed in this country. You are observing, if you're paying attention, you're witnessing some of the greatest exhibitions of electoral fraud in Guyana. And it cannot be only the PPP Civic doing it. Because I would like to think that this country has got a very clear record. 54 years, you all say, of independence. And you've got at least 40 plus years, 8 or more electoral cycles of electoral fraud. Electoral fraud has become Guyana's second nature. It has become a natural occurrence. It has become an expectation in this country for people to rig elections. And what some of you Guyanese, and I'll do another broadcast about this, but it's just an introduction to the other maybe. What some of you don't understand is this. The moment politicians tell you that they have a stronghold, you are an absolute fool to support them. And I'll say this to you without apology. These politicians have the nerve to tell you that this is their stronghold. So in other words, voters in this area vote for us. Get that in your head. Not that you vote because of what you want to do. You vote because on record, this is my stronghold. So they own you. In other words, Region 4 could never vote for PPP Civic because Region 4 is APNU FC's stronghold. Region 5 could never vote for APNU FC because Region 5 is PPP Civic stronghold. Imagine you are a Guyanese. These politicians live off of your money. and have the nerve to tell you that they own you in reference to constituencies. And you don't have a problem with that. You are okay with that. You are absolutely fine with people who live off of your money, earn sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times more than you earn on a monthly basis, and then turn and tell you, we own you. You are our area. You will vote for me. And you don't have a problem with that. You don't have an issue with that because Linden is PNC's stronghold, so Linden doesn't have the right to vote for anybody else. And I've seen it plainly in this election, whereby when people choose to vote for somebody else, they're called traitors. You've abandoned us. You're a traitor. How can somebody be a traitor if election is that you choose, according to the Constitution, to exercise your right? Come on. When did Region 6 become owned by the PPP Civic? That if the people are Region 3, if they do not win Region 3, then there's a rigging of election. Because we all know that in 2015, people voted for... So wait. 5 years later, you're telling me the Guyanese don't have the right to change their mind? It should tell you, therefore, that these two political parties of significance in Guyana, APNU, AFC, and the PPP Civic, they are telling you as Guyanese all across the board, you are owned by us. And we determine which region is ours. You vote, and if you don't vote according to what is always the case, then the elections were rigged. Guyanese is led by, we are led by political retards, and some of you facilitate them. They don't even have the common respect to tell you you have the right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. And if the record shows that PPP Civic won Region 4, so be it. No, they say it's been rigged. So let's go down the part whereby most of you get very uncomfortable now. If you observe what happens, if it's a predominantly East Indian region, then it belongs to the PPP Civic. If it's predominantly Afro-Guyanese, it belongs to the APNU AFC. And you don't have a problem with that. You have no issue with people treating you as though you are only going to vote based on the texture of your hair, not the color of your skin, because some East Indians are blacker than me, and that's a fact. So it's not about your skin color here. And you don't have a problem with that. You have no problem with being an Afro-Guyanese. And APNU AFC is saying that because your community is predominantly Afro-Guyanese, you have to vote APNU AFC or you're a traitor. And some of you don't have an issue with that. And as Guyanese people, we can understand that we are the ones that should get these politicians out, all of them. All of them. Guyana at this time should be run by an interim government of community leaders. Not one of those politicians should be back in power. None of them. There's no way that you can tell me as a right-thinking Guyanese you're comfortable with these people leading you. None of you. Afro-Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, you're all the same problem. If you're going to be a grown man, 18 means you're eligible to vote. Some of you 45, 50, 60 years old, and you still have a recycling of people telling you because you are Indian, you have to vote PPP Civic or you're a traitor. If you're Afro-Guyanese, you have to vote APNU AFC or you're a traitor. We'll burn your house down. We'll beat you up. We'll mark your family. We'll target your family. What is wrong with you people? And you expect the American ambassador, the European ambassador, the Canadian High Commissioner, the EU Commissioner to respect us. They will never respect us because we treat, not we. I don't even vote in the garbage. They will never own me. And for as long as you continue with this, I will never vote for one of y'all. Never endorse you. Elections in Guyana are won by bottom house politics. In America, you may not know what this means. Our houses are on stilts. They're on posts, so people can go under the house to sit and talk. An election in this country, they are run by bottom house politics. You go on the people's houses and you talk. You don't let them people win. Don't let black people win. Don't let them Kuli people. And that's how they talk. I'm repeating what they're saying. I quote what they say. So you have this culture now whereby people can't go to the poll with a clear conscience. Parents in their houses are telling children, don't you dare vote for APNU AFC. Don't do that. And you go back to 1963. You go way back and recite years of violence in this country and ethnic violence. That's what you do. Guyana does not need APNU AFC. And I close with this. What many of you on this broadcast, or the rebroadcast, and if you don't mind, somebody can type this. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Nigel London TV. Somebody type it, please, so you can subscribe and help me to spread the word there as well. There is, in this country, a culture of ignorance. And in this culture of ignorance, in Guyana, your political parties, APNU AFC, PPP Civic, these people can only function and only thrive, only win an election based on your ignorance. I have said this to you for at least 2 or 3 months now. The People's Progressive Party Civic, APNU AFC, they both function best when you're ignorant. I said since the first week of March, when the foolishness started, with Mingo and all the rest of them, I said it's very simple. Have the 6 commissioners of GCOM, 3 from PPP Civic, 3 from APNU AFC. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. And have these 6 commissioners along with the Chief Justice. Let them sit live on television, live stream on Facebook, because we weren't locked down yet. Let them stream and tell us all what the laws are about election. Before you go to vote, let them tell you the law. They never did it. Never did it. And they will never do it. Because even GCOM commissioners know that if you know the law, they're in trouble. So says Gunraj, waited until there was a recount. Then he says, listen when he says it, when there's an illegal national recount, then he says, if a party has a problem, they can file an election petition. Now, can you imagine that? Can you imagine? Can you imagine that a commissioner of GCOM waited until an illegal process began because there was no election petition? Then he said, if any party, according to the law, has an issue with the elections, they're free to file a petition. And you didn't have a problem with that. Guyana's politics is all about your being ignorant. Every 5 years, whenever the 5-year period is approaching, politicians in their heart know that the more ignorant you are, the more likely they are to succeed. I hasten to inform you that if 90% or 80% of APNU AFC voters and 80% of the PPP Civic voters get up one day and say, you know what, we are going to learn the laws of this country regarding elections. And we're going to learn what is proper and improper. If ever they do that, PPP Civic and APNU AFC become minor parties in this country. The minute APNU AFC supporters and PPP Civic supporters wake up and say, hey, we're going to learn what is lawful, both parties become minor parties, like these little ones hopping around the place. They become irrelevant. That's number one. The day 90% or 80% of the PPP Civic's voting population and APNU AFC's population figure out what the law requires of them, and the politicians, those two parties are finished. Next, the day, and this is the worst of all, the day APNU AFC, and that's why they never did it. And they never said they will do it until later on in the election process, when I began to talk about them and other people began to call them out for it. The day the People's Progressive Party Civic, or APNU AFC, used the oil money to give to their people. For example, I did a calculation, some of you may not have seen it. If oil is sold at $65 per barrel in this country, it is likely that every single Guyanese household can be given $1 million per month, and still the government will have at least $11 billion, US that is, to play with. Think about that for a second. Every Guyanese household in this country could be given $1 million Guyanese dollars per month, at least. And still the government gets 70% more than that every single month. If oil is sold as just $65 a barrel, $55 a barrel rather. Guess what? APNU AFC and PPP Civic never once committed to giving us as a people money in our bank accounts. You know why? Reason number two. Number one is you have to be ignorant. Number two, they could never empower you financially. The day APNU AFC or PPP Civic give us money to make us financially viable, they become irrelevant. Because they have no issue to talk to you about. They have no policy to impress you with. Every electoral cycle is about, don't go back, they'll kill your sons and daughters. They'll harass you. They'll beat you up. You have to be afraid of these people. Tyranny, that's it. Fear. Not facts. Not wisdom. Not policies. Now, if PPP Civic love you so much, why can't they tell you that with the oil money, if they get into power, they will give every Guyanese family at least, what I know I've calculated before, $1 million Guyanese dollars per month? They wouldn't do it. Because if they ever make you economically stable, they become irrelevant. Don't ask how much they will get though. My challenge to you is to stop allowing these people, these devils, to make you hate, fight, and act as if you're crazy over them. They don't care about you. Because I will echo why the American ambassador will never respect y'all. And that's the third point, and I close. Guyana has at least 60 plus million US dollars. I said before they even did it. Jordan, I think the Minister of Finance, then I said do not, publicly, do not ever put Guyana's money in the US Federal Reserve. You're going to suffer. Nobody voted yet. I said you're going to lose. The reason why you're going to lose is because the Federal Reserve is their bank. It's not Guyana's national bank. They're going to take, hey Mudwater, good to see you. They're going to take your money. If you don't do what they want, they're going to freeze your account. They did it to Iran. And they have Iranian children suffering and dying. The US are terrorists. They're economic terrorists. Venezuela was crushed because Venezuela defeated Exxon in a court case at the International Court of Justice. Exxon didn't like that. So the US sanctioned Venezuela. Barack Obama, think on that. He's the one who imposed sanctions on Venezuela and crippled them because the ExxonMobil lost a case. Venezuela said we own the oil, we have a right to determine how it's sold. Exxon didn't like that. The US knows, certainly know, that if they have Guyanese people who are afraid of standing up to them, they will always have control over you and your politicians. I said, do not put your money in this bank because you're going to suffer. They put it. So now we have 60 plus million US dollars sitting in the bank and can't touch it. In the midst of COVID-19 crisis, every household in Ghana can be given food, as we call it, ration, for months on end. But our politicians are counting, and they are arguing whether that people can vote and that people can't vote and all kind of garbage. You've got persons home who can hardly eat. The persons who call me saying they're hungry, they cannot eat. And I do what I have to do. But we have politicians in Georgetown who are busy counting ballots in the midst of a 2-month lockdown. They're still counting. While you suffer and fighting who's black and who's Indian and who's APNU FC and APNU FC stole. You people are insane. To watch your children. You have to find money. You still have to pay. Imagine GRA is still charging you to have your vehicle license and all that, and you don't have an issue with that. You have to pay GTT every month for a foolish service in the midst of this pandemic, or they cut your phone off. Can you imagine GTT would disconnect your service in the midst of a pandemic? And you don't have a problem with that? And they still vote, they're still counting. And these morons come on my page, mingo. I am saying to you, and I bid you shalom and good night. Guyana does not need to be run at this time by APNU FC or PPP Civic. Get rid of them. Both of them need to go. And I can't wait for this COVID-19 pandemic to end for me to take to the street. Both need to go. We need to be led by community leaders. Community leaders need to be in this country at least for 2 years. Let the community leaders and people who are civil and civic-minded lead us, because these politicians right now couldn't care less if we die or we live. Let's have a committee of community leaders who rule, because Guyana is functioning without government now. Truly speaking, many things cannot be done. You have an administrative arm, but you don't truly have a government per se. For 3+ months, we function this way. Get rid of these people. We have a president who speaks once a month in the midst of a crisis. And you people you don't have a problem with people telling you, I'm telling you again, you have no issue with politicians telling you that because of where you live, you have to vote for them. Because of the color of the text of your hair, you have to vote for them. You don't have a problem with that. I am sick and I'm fed up. And if you as a Guyanese don't have an issue with this, with all the racism and all that destroying your country, you are the problem. And you should be in jail. I appreciate your time. And I thank you for indulging me this evening. Again, I ask if you please share this broadcast, it can get to the right ear. But the last thing David Granger, you should do, if you have any, even if they say hypocritical, get rid of this woman. All these ambassadors need to go. Let new ones come back. Thank you so much. Good night and shalom. Bernadette, someone has to rule. PP Civic and APNU FC do not have to be the someone. Good night. I just said it. Bernadette agrees there can be a committee of leaders in this country that are formed. It's called an interim committee that can run Guyana. What I know for sure is that PP Civic and APNU AFC are not competent. They're most incompetent, and I think you can see that. All these minor parties are all a waste of time. Get community leaders, I said it before, and I'm leaving. Maybe join the broadcast stage, you can watch a rebroadcast. But Guyana doesn't have to be run by PP Civic and APNU AFC. Democracy, demo is peoplecracy governed. The people govern. We have the right to say who lead us. And we have the right to say, be tired of y'all and get rid of you. We're going to have these people lead us. Simple. It's time for the people of Guyana to understand that you matter. Stop the foolishness fighting one another over these stupid people. You and I, we are the ones who matter. Bye.